Hi, how are you?
Beautiful day. Let's go.
Fabulous.
All right. Well, we are going to jump in. Let's roll. Um, all right. So I was playing with the numbers a little bit this morning, and I usually go to the spreadsheet, and obviously we still can. Like obviously, active inventory is still tapering off this time of year. Miami-Dade had 89 properties go active under contract and 148 go pending, but they had a big closing number at 222. But I was looking actually at the charts, and I don't know if you've ever played with these charts, but you can add or subtract lines just by clicking the little buttons. And I left the active under contract, which is green, and I left the pending, which is the lighter blue, and the darker blue is closings. And we're starting to get enough data since we've been doing this since midsummer to actually start to see some trend lines. And what stuck out to me obviously was there's a giant dip that happened in September, yet the active under contract line looks pretty eerily straight. Like we typically run at a pace of around 100, give or take, properties going active under contract in Miami-Dade. Yet there looks to be, and the reason I did this is my suspicion is there was kind of a line in the calendar around September 29th where things looked different after September 29th. And more so in the condo market, but in single family, you can still see that we kind of hit a bottom, if you will, in September, and everything kicked up prior after September. Now, it's not as drastic in the single family market because you're looking at a line in third quarter, fourth quarter, into third quarter, fourth quarter that looks almost similar to what the lines looked like in the summer, which is not historically normal, right? Um, I thought that was interesting, but let me get down to the condos. So the spreadsheet on condos, we had 916 active inventory status changes, 78 went active under contract, and then 124 are currently pending, which is a little down from last week, which I think leading into holidays is pretty normal, with a big closing number of 195, right? But if you look at the graph when I removed the other variables, you definitely see a line in the sand or a line in the timeline right around September 22nd, September 29th, where everything looked different after that date. And the blue line, the dark blue line is closings. And that's the one that's most drastic. What do y'all see? What do you think? I see everybody leaning in to look.
I mean,
Maybe
steady.
there was a
Steady's
little
what I
bit
see.
more info on budgets for the new year, and people, were able to start assembling closings.
Yeah. I just see a really positive optimism uh, for condos, one in particular, but certainly the market as a whole. Richard, what were you going to say?
I'm looking at come September, people's attitudes started changing. Some of it were the changes to the condo structures, the easing up of some of the rules for the condos. But this is we've talked about this before. People sat on the sidelines for so long,
Yeah.
and the attitude just changed in September. Not that the interest rates dropped dramatically, but they started seeing that the Fed was on the trend to keep reducing the rates, And I think people are just feeling a little bit better about the outlook for real estate, particularly condos.
So what do we do with this information is more importantly like the talking point, because my suspicion is there were a lot of sellers of condos that just got frustrated and probably took their property off the market early this year or late last year.
Yep.
And it might be that opportunity to stick this in front of them and go, hey, the market's changed. Should we have another conversation? And maybe go get those properties teed up for a first quarter listing right now.
Yeah, if the rest of you guys are anything like Gail and I know you are, this is the time of year you're out at more social events and gatherings than pretty well any other time of the year. We were at a party last night, and yeah, the number one question that Gail was getting asked is what's going on in the market? People are talking about real estate. And this is the type of information that you need to have in your back pocket in order to have those intelligent conversations.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's keep going. So Broward single family, 714 active status changes, 162, which is a 4 week high of properties going active under contract in Broward. 112 went pending, and then 238 closed out. The last 2 weeks in Broward were great closing weeks. And if I do the same thing, and I kind of go back to this September period, it's not as drastic, like I said, in single family as it is in condos, but there certainly was a dip in that September timeframe that I think it would be safe to say at this point in time, that was the bottom, right? And then everything has gotten better after September. If we look at condos, 869 active status changes the last 7 days. 91 went under contract, active under contract, and then 103 went pending with 139 closed out. I just like looking at this chart because it's so telling. I mean, you see just right around September 22nd, September 29th, a drastic change in the numbers. Paige, you're polite. What's your question?
So,
Unmute yourself.
yeah, I don't know how to read this, but it looks to me though that it's all falling off a cliff at the very end of the chart.
That's just the way the chart's designed. It actually is not. It's waiting for new data.
It's waiting for new data.
Okay.
It should.
Okay.
It would be cool if it cut off right where the
Yeah.
bullets
Yeah.
are.
Everything goes to zero at the end.
It's a graphic issue, not a reality issue.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And then Palm Beach, single family, 648 active status, 170 active under contract, 129 really state. One of the things that I would throw at this conversation is how stable these numbers are right now. 238 closings, same thing. Like you saw the dip in September, but these are really healthy lines for this time of year from a historic perspective. And then on the condo front in Palm Beach, there's 588 active status, 87 went active under contract, 81 went pending, with 121 closed out. And they must have had a giant week, October 6th, for closings, which is probably a development or something. But you don't see the drastic as much, but you certainly see it in active under contract and pendings. They changed in September. And these numbers are looking really healthy, guys, especially in the condo market compared to where we've come from. Any last thoughts before we move on? Y'all are alive. All right.
Well,
I
the
think
only thing
Go ahead,
I was
Rick.
just going to quickly say the only thing I would like included once a month or every now and then, it would be interesting to look over our shoulder at the trend or trajectory of days on market. So
Yep.
even though the volume numbers are holding up and steady, it'd be interesting to know if things are moving quicker or if it's just a balancing act between the metrics of active, pending, and closed.
So,
Absolutely.
sorry, I had one thing, and I don't know if it's true. It's just a thought that a lot of these condos had active construction going on, and a lot of people didn't want to list, and perhaps some of the condos were either at the tail end or end of their construction projects, where they had to do balconies or, whatever they were working on. And I don't know, because I'm noticing more of that just in Fort Lauderdale anyway, seems to be coming to an end, and more people are interested in putting their properties up for sale. And more people are interested in buying because they don't have to look through plastic windows anymore that are covered up with work. So,
Yeah.
just a thought.
I like that. I mean, there's probably 100 factors, Nadine, right? But I think just from a general sense, the condos are moving faster today than they were prior to September,
Yeah.
right?
And one of the things I would like to see all of us be able to share with each other, because I don't know how we could get the data, but to see, like, every time you're in a condo, just to note which condos have finished their work. So, people are shying away from condos or they can't get financing because they're under partial construction. It would be good information to have within our offices of what buildings are ready to start selling.
Got
Here's
it.
a
I think
here's a
those are
question.
great conversations for team meetings, right? Like getting pretty hyper local into the condo market in your local area.
Yeah.
Is it also
Natalie?
fair to assume that some of the condos, if not listed in MLS, wouldn't be in our data if they're sold, they're pre-sold, but that's just the nature of the beast with new construction. But I don't know the local MLS rules for listing.
Yeah, there's a lot of properties moving outside of the MLS.
But
Uh,
the idea is this gives you an idea to then go to this is a macro view still. I mean, even though it's local, it's not hyper local, and then overlay your extreme local, your exact market to this data to see whether you're trending high or low. And going back to what Brett said earlier, and Richard actually said it, that these are great conversation starters. Well, did you know? Do you have a couple did you knows in your back pocket to create intrigue inside of a conversation that gives you reason to follow up?
yep. Natalie, go, and then I'm going to move on.
So I think it was Nadine was talking about information on the condo, and recently I did something that I truly think might be one of the biggest add values in I have moments in your career where you feel you've upped a level. And I was having a really hard time finding information in a condo that I was selling. They were ignoring me. And I called my transaction coordinator and I was like, I'm desperate. I don't know. Can you help me? And she's like, oh, we do this all the time. For $100 more, we'll get all the information. And she knows the language. So she cited, sorry, I'm also with my toddler, so he's also inputting. But she was like, don't worry. So she made an email. I've was done 30 emails. No one was responding. No one was giving me the information I needed. She put, like, according to Florida law, within 5 days of us asking, you should have. In a second, I got all the information I needed, and I've used this as my toolkit. You can like ridiculous, like it's my number one toolkit. So even if I'm a buyer, I'm getting my transaction coordinator to ask for all the paperwork from the association. She does that. She gets everything that they ignore us usually. And as a seller, I am creating a folder with literally 50, 60 pieces of paper, their financials, and she does a fact question, like most asked of what she gathers. She does 1 or 2 document, like Google documents that I save on the MLS, like, are pets allowed? Yes, no, all from the association. And anyway, that has been a game changer. So do that if you guys want to do that.
Thanks for sharing. All right,
Yeah.
so I'm going to move us forward. So, as if you're not aware, the Fed cut the Federal Reserve rate again, 0.25 last week. Um, I think this is funny. I don't know that everybody thinks it's funny, but every time they've cut the rate this year, the mortgage rate goes up.
Yep.
And not that it went up crazy, but we were 6.25 a week ago. Now we're 6.32. It just proves the point that they're not directly related, although just be aware. All right, moving on. So I want to hit a quick talking point and then jump into this next article. So one of the things that if you rewound real estate 10 years, we used to sit in training rooms this time of year, and I vividly remember having 12 blank calendars printed out, and I would plan out my attack for the next year ahead of time. I would say, I'm going to mail my newsletter on this day. I'm going to have an email go out on this day. I'm going to mail postcards on this day. We're going to do social media posts on these days. And prior to January 1st, we would have a 12-month marketing plan, a 12-month lead generation plan already put together for the next year. Sadly, I will tell you, less than 5% of the real estate industry still does that today. And I think it's a fundamental mistake. I think everybody should have already planned out what their marketing plan, what their lead generation plan for 2026 should look like. And ironically, I found this article on Inman that said why your real estate email campaigns aren't converting yet. And it just reminded me, like, I think people have bailed on some of the fundamental things that are necessary for real estate. Not all, but what is your email marketing campaign for next year look like? What's your drip look like? And this article would be a good one to read. It talks about shortening the word count. It talks about prioritizing cleaning up your database. It talks about changing your language in your emails to more social media friendly type stuff that has a hook, a story, an offer. And then they're testing subject lines inside their database to find out which one hits more. And then using that, and then they're segmenting their list for more personalization. So instead of taking your 250 agent or 250 contact database and sending them all the same thing, maybe you segment it to people that live in Broward, people that live in Dade, people that live in Palm Beach, or people that live in condos versus houses. And maybe you'll get more traction out of your email in 2026 if you were to maybe take a fresh approach. What do you think of this?
You
I
know, one
mean,
of the great things about automating your databases, Brett, is you can tag people with numerous different things. So if you have somebody you know that they love fishing or they love theater or they love antique cars, you tag them on that. And when you see an article come up in the newspaper or online, you get to go into your database and send it like it's coming from you just to them, was just thinking of you, saw this article. It is an incredible way to build a tightness within your sphere, and you're not sending the same thing out to all 250 people.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what the guy's talking about in this article.
yeah.
I was on a Zoom call with Jason Abrams last week. He was talking about going get back to the basics, right? And he was talking just about this, right? How do you personally connect with somebody through your email and all kinds of various other ways? It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Jason's a brilliant guy in the first place, but he makes it sound so easy, and it is, especially with command.
I just think we got to get back to the fundamentals. I hate saying that because that's such a leadership comment, but the truth is I'm looking around at our industry and our agent base, and I think less than 5% are actually doing the fundamental things of email drips and marketing campaigns and all this stuff. So,
Brett,
go ahead.
yeah, so I just uploaded a link which is basically a template for a marketing plan for 2026. Everybody can file, make a copy of it, and they can edit it themselves. But that's what I have always used.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
feel free to steal it.
I would go through your database and ask a simple question. Why would they care? And if you can't easily define it, it's hard to target it. In fact, if I got an email that said why you should care, I might open it up.
Let's
Like,
hope, right?
what does it
That
look to excite and intrigue me? You know, and that's the thing. They want to feel like they're the only person receiving that email. And how do you trick the system to funnel that type of information?
Yeah.
That's what I hear.
All right. I got quite a few
Right.
articles, so I'm gonna go a little faster here. There's an
You
article on
can-
Image that says how Netflix, Disney, and OpenAI are redefining control online. If you're somebody of social media, uh, if you're somebody of content creation, this is probably a really important article to read. There's certainly a consolidation going on of big media companies and Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, has come out and said that they're going to be better for the real estate agent community going forward. And I think that's pretty telling that they're saying, look, we realized you guys were making Facebook and Instagram ads, and it was quite frustrating at some point, but they're looking to improve that opportunity for all of us. And it's certainly being powered by AI and those kinds of things. So maybe that's something if you tried it in the past, maybe it's something you look at for 2026. The other thing that's interesting, if you're not aware, Australia banned social media under the age of 16. And what they're talking about here is the audience demographics might be changing in the social media space going forward. And you might be talking to different generations because 16-year-olds are the younger tier of Gen Z. And if you're messaging Gen Z, you might lose some of your viewer count. There's certainly conversations around, is this good or bad? I'm not getting into it. Um, and the AI race is just going faster and faster in terms of content creation. So I think this is a fascinating article. I'm not going to go deep into it, but I think everybody should. Last week, I made a comment about how there's 100 economists predicting things for next year, and they're all over the board. I found this article. This is Compass's economist, and what he's predicting is they're expecting home sales to climb by just under 4% next year, which, remember, we said NAR is predicting 14%, Zillow's predicting 3 to 4%. Now this guy's coming out and saying 4%. What I hear in that is we're going to sell more houses next year. Where that lands is debatable. Home prices will nationally will tick up just 0.1%. I don't know why they don't just call it flat. Obviously, some markets are falling and others are rising. If you remember from our call last week, the projections for South Florida is we will have price appreciation next year. To what degree? Probably nothing to write home about or even comparable to the pandemic years. But and he's predicting mortgage rates will average about 6.4 for the year. So not that I want to come on here and promote Compass. I just think any economist, I read all economists and then make my own opinion about it, right? And they all are kind of landing in the fact that we're going to sell more houses next year. Home prices are going to be pretty flat nationally. That's going to be different, hyper local, and mortgage rates are going to be stubborn and try to get as close to 6%, but we're probably going to be 6 to 6 whatever next year. So they're all kind of starting to land in that same bucket. All right. The other thing I want everybody in tune with, we've talked about this, there's a new article around transparency. And Richard and I hadn't even got on the same page about this yet, but there's probably, we probably need to update our independent contractor agreement, and we probably need to update our policy and guidelines in all our offices that talks about what is our position on transparency, meaning are we going to disclose or not disclose referral fees? This is a big deal when you're dealing with lead aggregators, but it's also a big deal when you're getting a referral from somebody across the country. Historically, we've never disclosed that to the client. And I think this is a big topic for next year. And I'll get with Richard and the team and talk about how we're going to update our policy and guidelines and our independent contractor agreements around all this stuff. But it's a hot topic. And more importantly, when things start hitting the media news cycle like this, it just tells you what's coming. And my suspicion is we're a litigious industry, and somebody's going to sue somebody about not disclosing referral fees or something along those lines. So I'm just keeping you in the loop on all that. All right.
It was
This
probably filed on Friday, Brett. It's already happened.
It already, I know, right?
I love your, it's going to happen. Yeah, it did happen.
I mean, that's part of our function in this is that how do we keep everybody protected? We don't want to over manage the real estate transaction, but we also want to manage it to liability. So
Exactly. You don't want it to be you.
Disclosure and transparency is becoming a hot topic right now. All right. Jenny, where are you at?
I'm right here.
Did you read this one?
Which one? I've read all but one. If it's the woman one, then no.
This is the one that was incredibly
A
challenging.
female voice here. So
I read every single one of them but the female one.
So the CFPB is proposing changes to rules under the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. And apparently, I haven't dived into it deep, and I don't know why. Yeah.
Here's what you should do with this, Brett.
Right.
I read it, and then I'm
me.
like, I'm not even sure what it means. Like it said that the CFPB, they're trying to eliminate the ability to bring charges for this equal opportunity. And I think fundamentally it's a great thing. In the 70s, we adopted it, and it gave equal privilege. It took protected class inside of lending to the next level to hold lenders accountable to not prejudice or judge or, prejudge who gets loans and who doesn't. And at the same time, I clicked on the link that says to the actual verbiage, the proposal. Holy Toledo, it's 23 pages of microprint. So what I intended to do, having read it 10 minutes before the call, to be honest, load that into AI and ask it to help you interpret it, because it's a lot of legal jargon. And I'm not exactly sure the real implications and why they're even proposing it.
So I have a question. Is this related to the fact that there certain professions are no longer considered professions, and those professions like education and nursing just happen to be female dominated professions? There's a lot of issues about that conversation. I don't know if you're aware.
I don't think it's specific. I don't think it's specific to that, Nadine. I think it's one of the government's stances is they're trying to remove red tape around buying and selling real estate, and they're trying to reduce the costs around it. So this potentially could be them trying to loosen up the government regulations. But what a couple people are coming out saying is this could specifically hurt women and other protected classes. And I don't know, it hit the news article over the weekend, and I haven't had a full disclosure. I haven't had a chance to dive very deep into it, but I was like, you know what? Anything that hits the news article, we talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a deeper conversation. What's the question behind the question? and the motive. And that's something we should probably bone up on this and get sharp about it and talk about it next week, because there was a lot going on here. And I watched the video of I believe it's a NAR rep who explained her perspective, but it doesn't go into the why. And I think at the end of the day, it probably has some element of capitalism or red tape, or I don't know how clogged or bogged down they are with claims. The video is embedded in the article, Frankie. Frankie had a hand up too. And yeah, it's a 3 minute and quick video with a woman who actually was presented at the hearing, and sharing her story. And it is boiled down a little bit, but it gives her perspective, not the global.
There you go.
And it's a good one. So I'm not discounting it at all. I'm basically saying I'm not sure I'm sure of anything on this.
Yeah, it's highly detailed, and we haven't made our way into all the details, is probably the way.
It'll evolve for sure.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to end with this. The three forces shaping the housing market for 2026. Affordability, improving at the edges, but even uneven across the map. Affordability has been a topic that's been shaping our housing industry, and it's going to continue to. So Miami is moving in the direction of becoming more affordable. It's on the negative side, which obviously has to do with prices, but it also has to do with wage growth and all that fun stuff. The other thing, which I really want to drive home, is life happens. Demographics and milestones quietly reawaken demand. So if you've heard us talk about the D words for years, like debt, divorce, diapers, diamonds, all the stuff that drives real estate, well, they're awakening, if that's a fair way to say it, meaning there were a lot of delayed major housing decisions over the last couple of years that people are reawakening to. Man, I either need to downsize, or I need to upsize, or I need to, we got married and we still hadn't bought our first house because we didn't think we could afford it, or, or whatever. The life events are starting to become more of a motivating factor in people buying. And I think that's a big deal to pay attention to and continue to drive your messaging around life events. And then inventory is back, baby. It's back to the 2019 levels. And that's a good thing as long as demand continues to grow. So there you go. There's your update. Any last thoughts, questions, comments? Love you guys. I appreciate you tuning in. I trust you get value and something to go make money with.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
guys. Have
You're
a great
welcome.
week.
Thank you.
Enjoy your
Thank
holidays.
you.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Bye,
Take
guys.
care.
Bye. Take care.